You know something, folks? This is going to be one of those in-your-face episodes. I don't even have a name for this episode, but just stick around. You'll understand why that this episode is so unique in its own way. Hello once again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. As I said earlier in the video, and this is actually take 4. This is one of these videos, I can't even come up with a title, but it definitely fits into In Your Face. Okay? There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be talked about in this video. And let me say right now, the couple that's involved in this video has to actually get a special name. I can't even give the real names, because if I did, I mean, it would be damaging to them in the public eye, because, you know, they're pretty decent people in their community. Along with that, it would possibly ruin a criminal case that the Farmington Police Department is now involved in. No, not involving the couple that we're about to talk about. But let me say that my mind is blown. I almost don't even know where to begin in talking about this except at the beginning. Okay? So, I will warn you all right now, if a lot of things that are going to be talked about in this video may change your mind one way or the other, okay? Let me give you an example. If you are a person who is trying to help push towards getting marijuana, legalized for recreational use, you might reconsider after this video. I'm not kidding you. I was a person that was totally against the overuse of technology. I have now reconsidered that. Okay, so along with that, possibly looking at prosecuting parents for past deeds. Yeah, this is some screwed up shit. So hang on to your hats, folks. This is going to be one hell of a story. Let's start off with our couple that we're going to talk about here in this episode. Because I'm a child of the 80s, and because we're trying to protect them, and the song that we're going to be referencing, yeah, I'm not kidding you. The name of our couple we're going to call Tommy and Gina. If you know the reference, it's a reference to the Bon Jovi song Living on a Prayer, because this couple really has been. Especially, we're going to say, within the last couple of years, okay? Now, I met Tommy and Gina through the Prince Magnum channel. They're both avid subscribers. They both watch fairly regularly. As a matter of fact, Tommy has been subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel a lot longer than his wife, Gina, okay? And Princess Faye and I both know them fairly well. Sounds like already a pretty decent couple. Well, Tommy made the mistake of cheating on Gina some time back. Heartbreaking. And I know some of you out there want to sit there and go, well, this guy Tommy is an SOB for cheating on his wife, Gina. Before you begin jumping the gun, let me say that Tommy's favorite series on the Prince Magnum channel is Surviving Romance. He never leaves a comment but he likes to come up and tell me about what he learned and what he appreciates about the series, and had actually been going so far as to do what he could for Gina to bring in romance. Now I already hear it shifting the other way. Maybe if Gina would have paid more attention to Tommy, because that's what happened. Gina stopped paying attention to Tommy. She became more interested in her family that lives elsewhere, and honestly, Gina's parents really didn't pay much attention to her. Actually paid more attention to her younger sister. Gina has more than once had actually spoke about this to me, and had told the same thing to Tommy and even to Princess Faye. But when you corner her about it, the first thing that Gina does is start defending her parents. Now, either A, Gina's been lying to us the whole time about her, and just looking for some sort of sympathy, or she really doesn't want the chance that her parents could still be prosecuted for neglect. Interesting so far, isn't it? But let's go a step further. Poor Tommy, growing up, lived in a broken home himself. And as a matter of fact, along with all the abuse that he suffered, he watched his mother cheat on his dad numerous times. So now we've got two broken homes, two broken people, and one not paying attention to the other one not basically, I mean, so this was destined to be a problem at some point in their marriage. Now, some of you might be saying maybe they need to split up, but before you do so, before we begin trying to take sides, again, we're starting to see a big picture, okay? So let's not formulate any opinions just yet. So now Tommy has actually been caught by Gina via messenger, and the information starts coming out in the open that Tommy had cheated with a woman a couple of times. For the record, the woman actually knew that Tommy was married. Now, I already hear some of you ladies out there, well, that home reckon what was going on in the other woman's life. We don't know. Okay? All we know about is Tommy and Gina. So now, the act is out in the open. Obviously, this is embarrassing for Tommy. Gina's devastated, by this whole situation. He got, basically, he got cocky. All right, and he was caught. He should have came clean about it when it happened, but he didn't. All right, so again, we could start pointing fingers, but then again, see where this is going? Very strange story, to say the least. But again, there's a lot more to this story, and even eventually involves the Farmington Police Department. So, what happens from here? Gina's devastated. She starts basically looking for friends to listen to her vent. They're not sure if they're, Tommy's not sure if he can fix this. Gina doesn't even know if she wants him around anymore. The marriage is now in serious turmoil. But then again, if Tommy has been evidently trying to do all the right things, and Gina's not paying attention, again, this is all questionable. So it goes back and forth. Who's wrong here? We don't know. All right, let's continue on with the story. Gina's now basically talking to other people, and she has she gets on Tinder and starts looking to talk to people and make friends. She has a near miss where a guy tries to basically make Tommy think that she was cheating with him. Tommy obviously is smarter than that. Gina pushes this guy off, okay? And she then deletes the Tinder app and gets away from him, okay? But now, Gina still needs some people to vent to, because at this stage in the game now, they're like, maybe we can still make this work. Maybe we can fix this. What ends up happening next is then Gina decides to start hanging out with a co-worker, a lady friend. And this is where law enforcement is now involved. Gina has a problem with drugs and alcohol. Then again, so does Tommy. Tommy got his life together, and he actually told me, he said, I wish you would do more sober talk. And I said, you know, a lot of people don't watch it. No, not a whole lot of people want to get sober. He said, I did. I said, well, you're not everybody, buddy. You know, I got to do what people are going to watch. And he said, I know. I said, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about whatever you need to talk about. I've always got a friendly ear. You know, you need to talk about something, staying sober, you know. But Gina's still a practicing alcoholic addict. Not a joke, okay? So what happens is, just before all of this hit the fan, Gina starts hitting up the CBD liquids. Yeah. So, and that was just legalized here in Missouri. Surprise, surprise, okay? And everyone says this is safe, okay? But, again, Gina is an alcoholic / addict, okay? She is a chemical dependent. She's not admitted, well, she's been to a few meetings and that sort of thing, but it's only a matter of time before it hits the fan again. We'll get to that shortly. Well, Gina now goes to hang out with a co-worker that has a problem with marijuana. Straight up marijuana. For the record, CBD is not illegal in Missouri, but smoking marijuana is. So these people are basically doing illegal substances. Gina starts hanging out with them. And it, you know, a chemical dependent. Y'all see where this is going. 2 times Gina hangs out at this place and and she has to drive home. She's operating a motor vehicle under the influence. Now, whether or not you believe that marijuana should be legalized or shouldn't be, marijuana does create a euphoric effect, and you should not be operating a motor vehicle, flying an airplane, or operating heavy machinery within 8 hours of taking it. That's the same thing that you would see with a Schedule II narcotic and even alcohol. That is the recommended time frame. So it's safe to say that Gina is lucky she's not in jail for being under the influence of drugs and alcohol. All right? Well, being under the influence of marijuana. Okay? So now that we have established that, we're going to take this one step further. Tommy's getting suspicious about Gina's co-worker's husband. Basically, he's been very flirtatious, and he's an antisocial type. In other words, he doesn't really talk to anybody. So all of a sudden, he takes an interest in Gina. He too also smokes marijuana along, basically you have a couple that's inviting Gina over, a chemical dependent, smoking marijuana, and this gentleman, there's not much known about him. Now, I won't give too much more from here because, I won't talk about too much about the other couple, giving names or where they live in Farmington or anything like that, because they're now under police surveillance, and we're going to get to that in a second. Tommy is worried. He's, basically cracked into Gina's phone, because, he screwed up, and she's already had the one near miss. He's worried, okay? And he starts seeing these things, and starts putting 2 and 2 together. That Gina may not be, doing anything bad, but somebody else may. What happens is, Gina decides to go hang out with her friend, her co-worker and her co-worker's husband again. She goes out to hang out with them, and again, they offer her marijuana while she's there. Tommy's worried because her cell phone, because the day before this happened, Tommy insisted that he and Gina both have these GPS devices installed into their phone so they can track where each other happens to be. Now, the irony of this is that because they did this, Gina ended up being safe. But what basically almost happened while Gina was there, the husband more or less took her back to a music studio. A studio that, if you understand music studios, they're soundproof. Gina was lucky she wasn't raped because she had been smoking marijuana, and they had said a few flirtatious things to each other. Basically, he had set, Gina's co-worker had set Gina up for her husband to rape Gina. Okay? And if Tommy had not called when he did, the likelihood that Gina would have been raped would have been extremely high. This is a bigger gentleman. Gina probably would not have been able to fend for herself in this particular case. And because of this, Tommy calling when he did to save Gina, said, basically, she lied to get out of there because they really weren't going to let her just leave. She lied to get out of there. She gets home, and Tommy's furious because he basically asked everything. Gina knew what he was up to, that he knew what was going on, because, and she, typical chemical dependent, defending the supply, if you will. She's like, oh no, they wouldn't do that, they're my friend, and deleted all the messages. She also asked that Tommy not call the police because he knew what was going on. He was actually just getting ready to call the police when Gina said, I'm coming home. Talk about a screwed up story at this point. So there's a lot of things going on. Gina obviously is safe, but Gina tried to make Tommy she tried to make him promise not to call the police. And initially he did agree to it, but until the messages were, the moment he seen that the messages were deleted from Gina's phone, basically, that could have, been used in a criminal case, he then decided that the best thing to do is to call the police. His conscience spoke again, he's like, I can't let this slide, because even though Gina has promised me that she will have no more contact with these horrible people, in a nutshell, he called the police. Gina's now very mad about this. She's very mad. And he basically said, you're my wife. I may have made a mistake, but I'm not about to let my wife be raped by some very unscrupulous people. And he said, I still love you and I still want this to work, but I cannot stand idly by, because even though this may not happen to you, it will happen to somebody else. And he asked me my opinion. I said, do you feel in your heart you did right? And he says, yes, Prince Magnum, I felt I did right by contacting the police and reporting this. And I said, what did the police say to you? They said the same thing, that I did right. I gave them the address of where Gina was, and these people are now under investigation. Now, again, I can't give too much more information from here. The Farmington Police Department is on the case, but again, this proves my point why recreational marijuana should not be legalized, okay? As far as the CBD stuff goes, I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other. So, again, reinforcing my feelings on recreational marijuana. To go along with that, I used to be one that I was against the use of GPS applications and things like that. When Princess Faye and I heard about this story, we had installed into our cellular devices applications that now track our movements to keep us safe. So if something should ever happen to me, Princess Faye would always be able to locate me. Along with that, Princess Faye also has the same thing installed into her phone. So, if you will, I learned something from this case. So, what is the moral of this story? Husbands, don't cheat on your wife. Wives, if your husband's doing everything possible to give you romance and you don't pay attention to him, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's an abuse all in itself. Parents, pay more attention to your kids, and for criminy sakes, lead by example. God! Along with that, Nancy Reagan was right. Don't do drugs. I don't care if you think marijuana is safe because it's from the ground, it's sound. So is frickin' Nightshade. And do me a favor, if you sit there and think that marijuana's safe because, you know, it's grown, do me a favor, take some Nightshade. God damn, folks. If we would have paid more attention to situations like this, if we would have, basically, who's at fault? Everybody, including Tommy and Gina. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Thankfully, Tommy and Gina are continuing to do what is necessary to make the relationship work now. Thank God. Thank every God above and below that they're still willing to work on the marriage despite all the problems. My heart is a joy for this couple. Whether you believe that they should be together or not is none of our business. What's important is that they find happiness. I think that's the message that we can all take away, even if you don't believe in what I've been saying and I couldn't believe this story. I'm like, dude, really? This is my story, Prince Magnum. Dude! I can't make this shit up. I'm not kidding you. I couldn't make this shit up. Tommy and Gina, I hope that your story reaches many more and all of us come away with something else. There's no real way to really end this video. Real quick, I will say that the negative couple that the couple that, you know, basically had ill intent, that's what we believe. And regardless, even if you don't think, maybe they didn't have ill intent, they still sent someone out under the influence. Basically, they gave a chemical dependent drugs and then allowed them to operate a motor vehicle. And regardless of how you view that, technically that is a crime, because Gina is an admitted chemical dependent, even though she has since went back on that. She is an admitted chemical dependent, and they're they're basically trafficking an illegal substance still in the state of Missouri. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they're still breaking the law. And let me also say, most people don't know this. If an alcoholic shows up in a bar and everyone knows that they're an alcoholic, that bar can't serve them. That's actually law here in Missouri. So, again, mind blown. Wow, too much to cover. And I know it's a long-winded video, but there was just so much to cover in this, I couldn't even title it all. I couldn't even throw a title on it. It's just in your face, A Prince Magnum Special. As always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.